Tagisan ng Galing. May 9 to 10 na. Dito lang po sa Net25. Huwag kalilimutan!
Everyone! It's Teacher Sally,
Ate DJ,
and Art, and we're from Net25 Kids!
we hope that you're all safe at home.
And while you're spending time with your family, join us as we feature different topics and fun activities that the whole family could enjoy during the quarantine.
That's right! And because we are celebrating ABC's 52nd anniversary, may mga bago kaming episodes para sa inyo. Kaya naman, ihanda na ang inyong mga art materials, friends! Gagawa tayo ng iba't ibang art at do-it-yourself projects!
Ilabas nyo na rin ang inyong mga musical instruments. We'll sing and do fun challenges that will surely bring out the creative side in you.
At syempre, halina't matuto at magbasa. Samantalahin natin ang pagkakataon. Kahit nasa bahay tayo, dapat tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang pag-aaral. Because every day is a learning opportunity. And opportunities like these should be made into teachable moments.
Tama po, Teacher Sally! Ang Net25 Kids ay para sa mga bata,
Para sa mga ate at kuya,
At pati na rin sa mga magulang. So, catch Kid Kwento every Mondays and Wednesdays from 4 to 4:30 p.m.
anong say nyo every Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 4:30 p.m.
And mapapanood nyo na rin sa TV ang Be Brighter. That's every Fridays 4 to 4:30 p.m.
Hindi lang po yan! May sorpresa kaming hatid sa inyo tuwing Sabado at Linggo. Abangan niyo po ang show namin ng ate ko! Soon!
Lahat ng yan ay hatid sa inyo ng
Net25 Kids!
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Idle volume 450. FI on to 100%. Static fan. Consumption eh.
Malaking tulong sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino ang home gardening.
Hindi lang makakatipid dahil hindi nabibili ng kakailanganing pagkain, makakaiwas pa sa kakulangan sa nutrisyon.
Pero kung ang bawat pamilya ay nagtatanim kahit sa maliliit na container o paso, nakasisiya itong tingnan, lalo na kung ito'y iyon na ang aanihin.
Kapag may kalamidad, tumataas ang halaga ng pagkain at nagkukulang ang supply nito.
Kung ang lahat ay may panahon sa pagtatanim, kahit sa sariling bahay o sa bakuran, pwedeng ibenta ang sobrang ani.
Kung lahat tayo ay nagtatanim,
Hindi ka na mamumroblema sa budget.
Tiyak pa ang seguridad sa pagkain.
Ang COVID-19 ay isang nakahahawang sakit na sanhi ng bagong coronavirus na ngayon palang nakita sa mga tao. Ito ay pangunahing naikakalat ng tao sa pamamagitan ng mga droplet mula sa taong may sakit kapag siya'y magsasalita, uubo o babahing. Ang mga droplet na ito ay maaaring pumunta sa mga bibig o ilong ng mga taong malapit sa kanya. Masyadong mabigat ang mga droplet na ito upang maglakbay ng malayo sa hangin. Umaabot ng hanggang 1 metro ang pagtalsik nito at kaagad na mananatili sa ibabaw ng mga bagay. Ito ang dahilan kaya ang pagkahawa ng tao sa tao ay kadalas ay nangyayari sa pagitan ng mga close contact. Hindi pa alam ang eksaktong oras na nabubuhay ang virus sa mga bagay. Kaya mainam na palagi ang linisin ng mga gamit lalo na sa paligid ng taong may COVID-19. Ang mga kamay ay maaaring kontaminado ng virus lalo't marami itong hinahawakang mga bagay. Kaya iwasan ang paghawak ng mata, ilong at bibig dahil maaaring lumipat ang virus sa iyo sa pamamagitan ng kontaminadong kamay. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ng bibig at ilong gamit ang looban ng siko o gumamit ng tissue. Pagkatapos gamitin ang tissue, itapon ka agad sa basurahang may takip. Ang madalas na paglilinis ng kamay gamit ang hand sanitizer na may alkohol o sabon at tubig ang pinaka-epektibong paraan upang maiwasan ang bagong coronavirus. Matatagal nito ang virus kung ito'y nasa kamay mo. Manatiling malusog at iwasan ang pagkalat ng COVID-19.
Ein sonniger Tag heute hier in Berlin vor dem Bundestag. Ich bin Irene Juliet Arzadon und möchte diese Gelegenheit nutzen, um ein paar Worte mit euch zu teilen. An alle Menschen da draußen. In dieser Zeit lasst uns nicht vergessen, den Menschen zu danken, die ihr Leben für uns opfern. Sei es die Menschen, die im Krankenhaus arbeiten, in den Altenheimen sowie in den Arztpraxen, aber auch an die Menschen, die im Lebensmittelhandel sich befinden. Die Kassierer. Manchmal reicht es aus, um ihnen ein freundliches Lächeln zu geben. Denn die Menschen, die heute am Arbeiten sind, weil sie nicht so wie einige von uns zu Hause bleiben können, die sollten wir wertschätzen. Ihnen sollten wir unseren Dank ausrichten. Darum lasst uns noch mehr zusammenhalten. Sie wertschätzen.
kababayan, naharap na naman po tayo sa mabigat na pagsubok na ito. Ito yung COVID-19.
I hope everyone's okay. I hope everyone's safe.
Nandito po kami para hikayatin pa po kayo na maging matibay.
Mas maging matatag po tayo and just stay positive po sa lahat po ng nangyayari ngayon.
Mga mahal kong kababayan, lampasan po natin, pagtagumpayan po natin ang pagsubok na ito.
Stay strong sa panahon po na to.
Huwag tayong mawawalan ng pag-asa.
At inihikayat din po namin kayo na sana makinig po tayo sa ating gobyerno.
Sumunod muna tayo sa gobyerno dahil yun yung pinakamainam na paraan para hindi na lumagana pa yung virus.
Let's all stay at home.
Spend time with our loved ones, with our families.
At higit po sa lahat, make sure to pray for everyone, pray for everything that is going on right now, especially our frontliners po who are sacrificing their lives to take care of everything.
Higit sa lahat, patuloy tayong lumapit, magtiwala at manalangin sa ating Panginoong Diyos.
Lagi tayong manalangin dahil yung po ang may pinaka-mainam na solusyon sa lahat po ng mga problema natin.
God bless you and your family. Please stay strong and keep our faith.
Tuloy po ang laban.
Hello, Malma Angeles. We're moving to the next stage of the pandemic. And as the world resets to the new normal, we find ourselves seeking the balance between health and livelihood, constantly adjusting the boundaries between liberty and responsibility. Here are tonight's news. Malacanang today assured the United States that press freedom remains vibrant in the Philippines. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque gave the assurance a day after the U.S. State Department raised worry over the National Telecommunications Commission's or NTC order for local media giant ABS-CBN to stop its broadcast operations. In a press statement, Attorney Roque said President Duterte's administration continues to be open to criticisms, including those that come from private media outlets that are critical of the government. Attorney Roque said, quote, "The Philippines, we assure our foreign friends and allies, continues to have a free and robust press where the critics and the political opposition remain vocal in their aversion to the current government." U.S. State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortegas, in a statement issued on Thursday, said Washington is concerned by the situation regarding ABS-CBN. Mr. Ortegas stressed that independent media plays a critical role in facilitating the open exchange of information and ideas, which is vital to free, prosperous, and secure democratic societies. Now, Attorney Roque said the palace agrees with the U.S. State Department. He said, "We share the view of the U.S. State Department that an independent media is vital to democratic societies like the Philippines. This stance has never wavered on the part of the President and his administration," he said. Attorney Roque maintained that Palace would now let the legislative branch, which is separate and independent from the executive branch, decide on whether ABS-CBN should be given a fresh congressional franchise. He reiterated that the President would remain neutral on the issue concerning ABS-CBN's franchise. The NTC, in its cease and desist order dated May 5, said ABS-CBN must stop its broadcast operations since its 25-year franchise already lapsed on Monday. Hong Kong began to ease major social distancing measures on Friday, with bars, gyms, beauty parlors, and cinemas reopening their doors after the financial hub largely halted local transmissions of the deadly coronavirus. Take a look. Health officials have made impressive headway against the disease thanks to efficient testing, tracing, and treatment programs, with just over 1,000 infections and 4 deaths. New COVID-19 cases have been in the single digits for the last 18 days, with 11 days showing a zero tally. All new infections are residents returning from overseas who are quickly quarantined. Bars are permitted to operate at half capacity and must ensure a distance of 1.5 meters between tables, while live music performances and dancing remain banned. Gyms, cinemas, and beauty parlors must also ensure social distancing, such as adequate space between yoga mats, as well as temperature checks and hand sanitizers. Pure, one of the biggest yoga chains, said it would limit classes to a maximum of 8 people, while bowling alleys are only opening every other lane. Authorities have also lifted the limit on how many people can gather in public from 4 to 8. Restaurants will also now be allowed to take bookings from groups of up to 8 people. Nightclubs and karaoke businesses will remain closed for now because health officials regard them as high risk. Staying in Hong Kong, rival lawmakers clashed inside the city's legislature on Friday, raising political tensions weeks after Beijing sparked a constitutional row by calling for filibustering opposition politicians to be removed from office. Take a look. Pro-democracy lawmakers are trying to stop bills progressing to a vote in order to scuttle the anthem law. Now, the clashes were sparked by a row over who gets to control the House committee, which scrutinizes bills before they go to the floor and has been without a committee leader since October. On Friday afternoon, prominent pro-Beijing politician Starry Lee took the leader's seat after legal advice from government lawyers said she was empowered to break the deadlock. But pro-democracy politicians armed with their own rival legal advice accused her of breaching the rules. Mayhem ensued with security guards and pro-Beijing lawmakers surrounding Lee as their opponents tried to access the roster, with one even trying to, as you can see here, climb a wall behind them. Beijing has been incensed by the paralysis and last month suggested pro-democracy politicians should be prosecuted. Those comments sparked accusations the liaison office had breached a provision in the city's constitution banning the Chinese government from interfering in how Hong Kong runs itself. The liaison office promptly announced it was not bound by the constitution, raising even more political tensions. In other news, a White House military aide, reportedly part of a unit working closely alongside President Trump, has tested positive for the coronavirus. But President Trump has not been infected. Take a look.
I just had a test, as you probably heard. In fact, I had one yesterday and I had one today, and it's negative. Mike just had a test and it's negative. But they do the tests, and it just shows you that the fallacy, it's what I've been saying. Testing is not a perfect art. No matter what you do, testing is not a perfect art. So we test once a week. Now we're going to go testing once a day.
According to a report by CNN, the military member in question is in the Navy and works in a unit providing a valet service to President Trump. President Trump, his immediate entourage, and guests to the White House are regularly given tests that provide results within about 15 minutes. As countries and cities around the world turn to the new normal, Governor Cuomo says remote learning may replace teachers standing in classrooms. And that and more from our Eagle News correspondent in New York, Tenny Sumagi. Hello, Tenny.
Hi, good evening, Alma. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. And I'm excited to hear your updates from New York.
Yes, the art of remote learning. We are living in interesting times, meaning different innovative ways of learning. And in this age of technology, what more could students enjoy remote learning? Now, there's pros and cons about this, Alma. And, you know, I'm currently not teaching and not experiencing this this way of teaching right now, but just talking to my friends and talking to students, they're just very overwhelmed with this idea of remote learning because of how everything just happened. Everything was just rushed with this pandemic. So, you know, the pros of remote learning is that it's just a new way of learning. Students are able to independently study and discipline themselves to work. And teachers, it's just a good way of teachers of doing something new. But the cons of this, however, is with everything just being rushed, imagine yourself teaching 35 kids how to operate Google Classroom. It's a daunting task. And kids have questions. How do I do this? How do I submit my assignment? So, that's the cons of it. And just, if you think about your attention span, I myself, as an adult, when I take online classes, my mind is all over the place. Home is really not the best place of learning because of the many distractions that occur. And I know that these students are facing that, having to, work and do their projects on time. And it's just, it's overwhelming, but it's innovative.
But do you know when this will be implemented by Governor Cuomo?
It's already implemented now that...
Oh, yes, it isn't going, but until when do you know will this be? We never know.
You never know. It's very unpredictable. There's even talks that it might even continue during the beginning of the school year in September.
It's been 2 months since the lockdown. What has noticeably changed over there in New York?
Well, the lockdown first occurred back in March 17th.
Yeah.
And everybody in New York City was probably like, okay, we'll get over this. This is no big deal. It's just a virus. No one was taking this seriously. Then all of a sudden, it was a domino effect. The recorded deaths. This pandemic, the death rate has skyrocketed. It surpassed the 9/11 deaths. So the change of it came from, okay, this is not a big deal. We could get over this, to anxiety, worry. What's going to happen when the city reopens? Will my life change? I'll share an experience. I mean, my family was actually one of few families that was spared from the pandemic. Nobody really got sick. I mean, I had the virus, but I was asymptomatic. But you have to think about, the people who have lost loved ones and the people who have lost their jobs in this pandemic. What's going to happen? How is life? Life isn't going to be the same. It's going to take time to adjust to normal life. New York City is, life is, quick.
True.
And, after, just to come back to that normal life, it's going to change. It's going to be new.
How have you been coping, and how do you stay optimistic?
Easy, live, laugh, love, and eat. Eating makes me happy.
Yes, me too.
But positivity is, it's, living life to the fullest. With this pandemic, you just really have to, number one, talk to your friends. I think I've probably talked to my best friend. I've talked to my best friend on Telegram almost every day, and we're like joking around. And I think it really helps when you're just sitting at home, kind of wondering what else is there to do besides clean your house and cook for your family. so we tell jokes, and her family had suffered from this pandemic. Her father was in the hospital, COVID, and then she lost her cousin to COVID. And it's funny, like, instead of mourning and in deep sorrow, she and I are just cracking jokes, reminiscing the times of, oh, remember when he said this? And remember he scolded us for not having a pencil when he used to teach us in church choir practice. So, positive talk is pretty much the remedy of staying optimistic and joking around. Just, life is difficult, and you don't have time to worry and dwell and be depressed. So.
All right. Thank you so much, and stay positive, and we'll wait for more updates over there in New York. Thank you so much, Tenny.
You too. Stay positive as well, Alma. Thank you.
Okay, over in Australia, they launched a COVID-safe recovery plan. What that is, we'll learn from Carla Cruz. Joins us live from Sydney. Hello, Carla.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. What are your updates from Sydney?
Thank you, Alma. Yes, I'm bringing you the latest updates on the COVID-19 situation here in Australia. Today is indeed a happy Friday for the country as Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced his road to a COVID-safe Australia recovery plan. The three-stage approach was unveiled at lunchtime today after the National Cabinet meeting, and there is high hopes it will help to get Australia back to a new normal by the end of July through the easing of its current restrictions in phases to kickstart the economy. Stage 1 would include a maximum of 5 visitors at home and up to 10 people in businesses like cafes, restaurants, and other public places. It also means retailers, libraries, and playgrounds will start to reopen. Weddings can have up to 13 people, which would mean the bride, groom, celebrant, and up to 10 guests, while funerals can have up to 30 people attending. Local and regional travel within each state and territory will be allowed. For stage 2, the restrictions would include up to 20 people gatherings. Places like gyms, beauty parlors, cinemas, galleries, caravan and camping grounds will also reopen. Interstate travel may occur provided that the borders are reopened between the states and territories. The final stage would see gathering sizes increase to 100 people at a capacity. Workplaces allowing people to return, food courts, saunas, clubs, and other public places that attract large gatherings to reopen. There is potential to allow for some international travel between Australia, New Zealand, and Pacific Island nations. And there's also some special considerations for some international students pending very strict quarantine regulations. Each stage would be reviewed after 3 to 4 weeks before the decision onto the next phase would be made. So while it is welcome news for the country, it's important to note that it is actually ultimately up to the states and the territories themselves to decide when they want to implement these changes in their own areas. New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania have already confirmed there will be no changes to the current lockdown laws despite the stage 1 announcements made today. But Queensland have eased restrictions by allowing up to 5 people to visit. And the Northern Territory, Western Australia, South Australia, and Australia's Capital Territory have relaxed their rules by allowing up to 10 people in home gatherings already. And in some other positive news for Australia, because of its success in suppressing the coronavirus so far, the country has been invited to join a unique club of nations nicknamed the First Movers COVID Group. Australia joins countries like New Zealand, Norway, Singapore, Israel, Greece, the Czech Republic, Denmark, and Austria, who is leading the cohort as these nations acted promptly to minimize the spread of the virus, subsequently containing in a manageable state. The First Movers Group, who recently had its second meeting this week, shared their own experiences regarding how they've handled the COVID-19 situation in their own countries, from the economy to tracing and testing practices. And for the past week, an average of 20 cases or less are being reported daily nationwide, and there has been a steady decline in the cases in recent times. That's it for some Feel Good Friday news from Down Under, Alma. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Carla, what about sports activities? We heard that people are now allowed to go back into sports. How would that be carried out?
Yeah, so that is correct, Alma, and as you know, Australia is a very sports-mad nation. They are looking at implementing a similar approach for community sports and recreational activities based on the national principles released by the Australian Health Protection Principle Committee. This would initially see small groups of less than 10 people allowed to participate in non-contact sports such as golf, tennis, running, and bowling, for examples. And then from then on, they would review at looking at the next stage of allowing
Okay, Carla, you still there? Okay, we lost our connection. All right, that was Carla Cruz reporting from Sydney, Australia. Meanwhile, South Korea on Friday detected a cluster of new coronavirus cases. Take a look. According to the Korean Herald, it was from a patient who visited clubs and bars in Seoul's popular multicultural neighborhood of Itaewon over the weekend. The COVID-19 patient, 29 years old, visited 5 clubs and bars in Taiwan on Friday night to the early hours of Saturday last week. The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that 14 of the patient's contacts, including 3 foreign nationals and 1 army officer, have so far tested positive for COVID-19. Officials said the patient's contacts include 3 foreign nationals and 1 army officer who have tested positive for the coronavirus so far. Life in South Korea has returned largely to normal, with workers going back to offices this week under eased social distancing rules, while a stay-on-base order on its 600,000-strong military was lifted, allowing conscripts to go on leave. Schools will start reopening next week. Okay, let's head on now to Europe. The UK marks the 75th anniversary of the victory in Europe Day. Joining us live from the UK is Love and Season. Hello, Love.
Hello, Alma, and to all our viewers. So here's an update from here. Today, here in the United Kingdom, marks the 75th anniversary of victory over Europe in May 8, 1945, when Britain and its allies formally accepted Nazi Germany's unconditional surrender after almost 6 years of war. Now, in a letter to veterans, Prime Minister Boris Johnson likened Britain's battle with coronavirus to the country's fight against Nazism in World War II. This Friday morning, he delivered a powerful speech reflecting on the victory and called on the British public to be strong again. Let's take a look.
All of us who were born since 1945 are acutely conscious that we owe everything we most value to the generation who won the Second World War. What
the UK government changed its
and our allies did was to save freedom. Not just here, but everywhere. Britain and the Commonwealth and Empire were the only nations who fought Hitler from the first day of the Second World War to the last without being defeated and occupied. For a whole year, 1940 to 41, we stood alone against him, the last barrier to his tyranny. We're now engaged in a new struggle against the coronavirus, which demands the same spirit of national endeavour. And that means we can't hold the parades and street celebrations we enjoyed in the past. But all of us who were born since 1945 are acutely conscious that we owe everything we most value to the generation who won the Second World War.
Now, the UK government changed its early May public holiday, usually held on the first Monday of the month, to Friday, to allow people to mark the V celebrations. But a nationwide lockdown introduced in late March to curb the coronavirus pandemic, and which remains in place, cancelled plans for public gatherings. The Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall led a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. today to honor servicemen and women during World War II, and the Queen will address the nation later. With more than 30,000 dead, more people in Britain have lost their lives as a result of the outbreak than any other country in Europe. And Johnson on Thursday told ministers the government must ease restrictions with maximum caution. He is expected to address the nation on Sunday evening to set out a roadmap for lifting the lockdown over the coming months. Alma?
So, given the current lockdown conditions over there in the United Kingdom, what events are taking place there to commemorate the 75th anniversary of VE Day?
Yes, now, even though the public gatherings have been canceled, there are still events happening to celebrate it. So, like a special TV program will be broadcasted featuring extracts from then Prime Minister Winston Churchill's victory speech to the nation, announcing the end of the war in Europe. The Queen will also make a televised address to the nation, which will be aired tonight at 9 p.m. The exact moment her father, King George VI, gave a radio address 75 years ago. So while some homes and streets are decorated with buntings and flags, the British public have been urged as well to join a national sing-along from their doorsteps of Veroline's wartime classic, We'll Meet Again. Also to try and hold 1940s style tea parties at home to mark the V-Day. So back to you, Alma.
All right, thank you very much, love. Stay safe and stay healthy. And thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you as well, Alma. I'm Love Ann Season, your EBC correspondent here in the United Kingdom, and we live in interesting times.
And Russia will celebrate Victory Day in the time of a pandemic, and also the latest coronavirus update there. Joining us live from Moscow is Rodora Peroche. Hello, Dang. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Alma. Good evening. Thank you for having me as well.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dang.
Okay, our update here in Moscow. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said restrictions aimed at containing the spread of the novel coronavirus in Moscow have been extended until May 31. He noted in his blog, when enterprises and construction sites reopen, the public service vehicles will inevitably have many more passengers, and it will be more difficult to observe the social distancing rules. So he said, from May 12, the use of masks, respiratory protection masks, or even others to protect the respiratory system, as well as gloves, will be compulsory in shops, shopping centers, as well as for trips on any kind of public transport and in taxis. Some measures in place since late March will be eased from May 12. Some restrictions will be eased, including the return to work for industrial and construction companies. But Sobyanin added it was still too early to reopen sports facilities, restaurants, and theaters. Digital permits for traveling on transport, which were introduced in Moscow on April 15, will remain in place. The existing permits will be extended, and people who plan to return to work after the May holidays will need to apply for travel permits. Volunteers and those traveling to hospitals will be able to receive one-time permits every day, and permits for traveling for personal reasons can still be received twice a week. On the other hand, 1st to 8th grade students as well as 10th graders will go on with their remote studies without mandatory homework and marks until May 31. 9th and 11th grade students will continue their remote studies until May 31 as well. The Education Ministry will decide later on how to hold the exam. Moscow is the epicenter of Russia's coronavirus crisis, with 92,676 of the country's 187,859 cases. Russia has now the world's second fastest rate of new infections behind the United States. It is the fifth most affected country in terms of infections, surpassing the Germany and France on Thursday. Earlier, the Russian government set up an internet hotline to keep the public updated on the coronavirus situation. And on the other update, in the upcoming Victory Day here in Russia. Each year on May 9, Russians across the country celebrate Victory Day as the day of the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. This year's parade marking the 75th anniversary of Victory Day was meant to be a major showcase for President Vladimir Putin, with world leaders and veterans from all over Russia invited. But with the spread of the coronavirus showing no signs of slowing down in Russia, what was originally planned to be display of military might will instead be a ghost celebration. while the main parade in Moscow has been postponed indefinitely to try to contain the virus. Several events are set to take place without the public or via online broadcast. Here's a look at how Russia plans to celebrate its victory in what Russians call the Great Patriotic War in the time of the pandemic. Back to you, Alma.
All right, thank you very much, Dang, for your updates. Mag-iingat po kayo dyan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you po, Ms. Alma. Reporting from Moscow, Russia, I'm Rodora Peroche. We live in interesting times.
Now, Germans feel gratitude for the Nazi defeat that ended World War II in Europe 75 years ago. That is according to President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. He said this in a landmark commemoration speech on Friday. He said, today, we Germans are allowed to say the day of liberation is a day of gratitude. Mr. Steinmeier said at a solemn Berlin ceremony. The May 8th anniversary of the Nazi Germany's unconditional surrender to the Allies is a one-off public holiday in Berlin this year, although events have been scaled down because of the coronavirus pandemic. Steinmeier's words recalled former President Richard von Weizsäcker's watershed speech in 1985 when he became the first to call on Germans to remember May 8 not as a day of defeat, but as a day of liberation from the Nazi tyranny. The UN chief said the coronavirus pandemic has unleashed a tsunami of hate and xenophobia, which needs to be defeated. Take a look.
COVID-19 does not care who we are, where we live, what we believe, or about any other distinction. We need every ounce of solidarity to tackle it together. Yet, the pandemic continues to unleash a tsunami of hate and xenophobia, scapegoating and scaremongering. Anti-foreigner sentiment has surged online and in the streets. Anti-Semitic conspiracy theories have spread, and COVID-19-related anti-Muslim attacks have occurred. Migrants and refugees have been vilified as a source of the virus and then denied access to medical treatment. With older persons among the most vulnerable, contemptible memes have emerged suggesting they are also the most expendable. And journalists, whistleblowers, health professionals, aid workers, and human rights defenders are being targeted simply for doing their jobs. We must act now to strengthen the immunity of our societies against the virus of hate. That is why I'm appealing today for an all-out effort to end hate speech globally.
Engineers battled Friday to prevent more toxic gas escaping at a chemical plant on India's east coast, a day after a pre-dawn leak killed 12 people and knocked locals unconscious in the street. Take a look. Although the death toll was lower than feared, the accident, which left hundreds hospitalized outside the industrial port city of Visakhapatnam, evoked memories of Bhopal, where a gas leak killed around 3,500 people in 1984. Late on Thursday, the evacuation zone around the plant owned by South Korea's LG Chem was widened, with hundreds more people in 10 localities brought to safety as a precaution, according to police. Plant owner LG Chem said Friday there was no fresh leak, but as a precautionary measure, nearby people should be moved. The plant, operated by LG Polymers, a subsidiary of LG Chem, is on the outskirts of Visakhapatnam. The city and the surrounding area are home to around 5 million people. The plant had been left idle because of the coronavirus lockdown. According to Rani, an assistant police commissioner in Visakhapatnam, the CSE said the leak happened because the gas was not stored at the appropriate temperature, causing pressure to build up and breaking the valve. The tank was also old and not properly maintained, he said, and there was no monitoring mechanism installed to specifically detect styrene. And the first wave of a massive exercise to repatriate hundreds of thousands of Indians stuck abroad began Thursday, with 2 flights departing from the United Arab Emirates.
We have these 177 passengers who are flying out from Dubai today, and mostly these are Indian workers who were stuck here. Some had lost their jobs. We have pregnant ladies, we have several elderly people, and we have people who had medical problems. And then, of course, there are some standard students and tourists.
India banned all incoming international flights in late March as it imposed one of the world's strictest virus lockdowns, leaving vast numbers of workers and students stranded. Other flights will leave Singapore, Malaysia, and the Philippines, as well as London in the United Kingdom and San Francisco, New York, Chicago, and Washington in the U.S. Some 15,000 nationals will be repatriated from 12 countries on planes and naval ships in a mammoth exercise which saw the Civil Aviation Ministry's website crash Wednesday as panicked citizens rushed to register. 2 warships have steamed to Maldives and another to the UAE, home to a 3.3 million strong Indian community, which makes up some 30% of the Gulf states' population. The consulate in Dubai said that it alone had received almost 200,000 applications, appealing on Twitter for patience and cooperation as India undertakes the massive task of repatriation. Eagle News will be right back.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, gabay natin ang MTRCB ratings sa matalino at responsableng panonood. Sa tamang pagsunod sa MTRCB ratings, ginagawa nating ligtas at makabuluhan ang panonood ng bawat miyembro ng pamilyang Pilipino. Lumipas man ang panahon, hanggang may pamilyang Pilipino, andyan ang MTRCB.
Abangan! At malapit na po! Tagisan ang magaling!
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
The Philippine economy contracted for the first time in more than 2 decades during the first quarter, but officials warned that the worst was likely yet to come as the nation reels from the coronavirus pandemic. Gross domestic product shrank 0.2% in January to March, its worst performance since 1998 during the Asian financial crisis, as the Philippines joins a long line of countries to report devastating figures as a result of widespread lockdowns that have shut down economies. Containing the spread of the virus and saving hundreds of thousands of lives, though the imposition of the quarantine has come at great cost to the Philippine economy. That is according to Economic Planning Acting Secretary Carl Chua. The January eruption of the Taal volcano, which forced the temporary closure of Manila's main international airport, also took a toll. Mr. Chua said there would be more pain and the economy could further shrink in the second quarter. Growth in consumer spending, which is the Philippines' key economic driver, slowed to just 0.2% during the period hit by the closure of malls and shopping centers in areas under lockdown. Many areas in the Philippines have been under quarantine since mid-March and will remain so until at least mid-May to contain the spread of the virus, including Manila and the surrounding areas where most economic activity takes place. But Mr. Chua added that the country could bounce back in the second half of the year as it gradually reopens businesses. Sri Lanka's government appealed to its 1.5 million employees to donate their May salary to help the cash-strapped island recover after a 52-day virus lockdown. The nation's top civil servant, P.B. Jayasundara, said if workers, including the army and police, donated their salary, Sri Lanka could save 100 billion rupees or $525 million in May alone. He also claimed he had already donated his pay, according to a letter seen by AFP. The government imposed a nationwide lockdown from March 20, closing all industries, transport, and shops, apart from some that deliver essential supplies, such as food and medicine. The lockdown, which has been extended twice, is due to be lifted on Monday. Sri Lanka's central bank on Wednesday cut interest rates to 6.5%, the fourth cut this year to stimulate growth. Economic growth slowed to 2.3% last year compared to an expansion of 3.3% in 2018. In other news, China's new prototype spacecraft successfully landed on Friday, marking an important step in its ambitions to run a permanent space station and send astronauts to the moon. Take a look. The spacecraft, which was launched on Tuesday, arrived safely at a predetermined site, the China Manned Space Agency said after a hitch in an earlier part of the key test. It said the cabin structure of the spacecraft had been confirmed on site as being intact. The test vessel was launched with a cargo capsule aboard a new type of carrier rocket from the Wenchang launch site on the southern island of Hainan. The space agency said the vessel was in orbit for 2 days and 19 hours and had completed a number of experiments. The return has verified the spacecraft's capabilities, such as its heat resistance, vehicles re-entering Earth's atmosphere face high temperatures, and it is hoped the spaceship will one day transport astronauts to a space station that China plans to complete by 2022 and eventually to the moon. A troupe of robots bang drums while cheerleaders broadcast their dance routines to fans on mobile phones. Welcome to Taiwanese baseball. Foreign fans starved of the sport are turning into Taiwan's often overlooked league as the island basks in the glow of being one of the few places in the world hosting live sports. Take a look.
Score with one swing, and maybe this is going to be exactly like what the poster is saying. Yes, with one swing you score, and here comes the fireworks again, setting the new record of CBBL for becoming the fastest player to hit 10 home runs in the season. He only spent 13 games to collect his 10th.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and baseball fans from all around the world, welcome to 11 Sports Taiwan, and join us here in Taoyuan, Taiwan for the 2020 CBBL season, the one and the only live sport on the surface of the planet.
And that one's rolled to the second baseman. Lin Lee's going to have to hurry, and he does, to get the speedy Wong Wei 10 for the first out of the inning.
During the broadcasting, we would talk about the baseball culture here, and we also talk about the local Taiwanese culture here as well. And as of now, we're bringing food to every game to show everybody that what kind of food you can have in the stadium when you come to Taiwan.
You know, they're really just trying to find something to watch, and I think having English commentary really helps with that.
And finally, in our news, the Iglesia ni Cristo gives 3,000 sacks of rice and 1,000 PPEs to the Manila city government. Take a look.
Sumulat ako kay Eduardo na baka sakali na meron extra. Halos wala pang 24 hours. May tugunan kay Eduardo. Kaya kay Eduardo, maraming salamat po sa mga kapatid natin sa Iglesia. Maraming salamat sa tulong ninyo. Malaking bagay po ito. Talagang magagamit ito. Umasa naman kayo, pati yung bigas. Ang hiningi ko lang po, PPE. Ginawa pa ng Tajun, ginawa pa 2,000. From 1,000 to 2,000, saka yung 3,000 sakong bigas. Umasa kayo sa mga kapatid natin sa Iglesia, kay Eduardo. Makararating po yun sa tamang tao. Yung taong nangangailangan.
The Iglesia ni Cristo, as I said, donated 3,000 sacks of rice and at least 1,000 pieces of personal protective equipment to the Manila city government as part of its continuing efforts to help people amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Manila City Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno, as you heard, personally received the INC donation for the Manila City residents at the INC Central Office in Quezon City on Friday. And he thanked the INC Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo Manalo, for the help provided by the church. The Manila City Mayor also received a token for the donation from INC General Auditor Minister Glicerio Santos Jr. and the Maligaya Development Corporation COO Attorney Glicerio P. Santos IV. The mayor said that he had recently written a letter addressed to the INC Executive Minister seeking help for the city's frontline workers. And he said he was very thankful for the Iglesia Ni Cristo's fast response. He also said that he received a response less than 24 hours after he had sent a letter to Brother Eduardo. He also said that he had only asked for PPEs, as we heard, but was surprised that the Iglesia Ni Cristo had also given 3,000 sacks of rice for the Manila's poor residents. Here is Brother Glicerio Santos.
Ay walang tigil sa pagtulong sa kapwa-tao at lalo na sa aming mga kapatid. Ang katunayan sa buong Pilipinas ay nabigyan na namin lahat ng mga tulong, ayuda, ang mga kapatid at maging hindi kapatid. Yan kasi ang naipangako ng kapatid Eduardo Manalo na kailanmat merong sakuna o merong mabigat na pangyayari, ang Iglesia ni Cristo ay laging kaagapay ng mga Pilipino. Lagi niyang naalala na ang mga Pilipino ay kailangan tulungan. Kaya walang atubili ay ipinatawag ng kapatid Eduardo Manalo si Moreno para siya ay bigyan ng ayuda para sa mga kababayan natin. Hindi lamang yung hiningin niyang PPE, kung saan ay para sa mga frontliner, 3,000 kabang bigas ang ibigay sa tundos, maraming mahirap dyan. Yan naman ang pangako ng kapatid Eduardo Manalo na hindi niya malilimutan na agapayan ang mga Pilipino. Mahal niya ang mga Pilipino. Kung paano mahal niya ang mga kapatid, gayon din mahal niya ang hindi kapatid. Sapagkat sa panahon ng pangangailangan, kailangan ipakita natin yung tunay na pagmamahal.
In a time of physical and emotional distance, we give importance to the unsung service delivered by our own frontliners, our news correspondents positioned all over the world. Without them, we would not have the eagle-eye focus on the facts of this pandemic and its continuing repercussions on our lives. Thank you for staying in touch with our viewers. Stay safe, protect yourselves and others. Good night. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.